Hello and welcome to everyone to another Project Insight famous 15-minute power tutorial. I'm Matthew Sparks. We are very happy to be here to give you, our VIP users, a quick intro into how to make the most out of our robust project management system. If you're not a user of PI, don't worry about it. We think you'll love to hear about the tool and how we can make your work life easier. If you're here with us now, please leave a note in the comment and drop a note where you are. If you feel comfortable with it, leave your role too. I'm personally in Phoenix. Thank you so much. We at Project Insight are in the business of giving our project managers new superpowers, and today we get to do just that, discuss our top-down capacity planning reporting feature with you. This is a new tool for you to brag about. The goal is to give you the power to give your stakeholders visibility into real-time project planning so that you can make the best decisions about what projects to take on and which ones to punt to later. So that way you don't have to get back to your boss, a week from now after you've checked spreadsheets and calendars and say, hey, here's the details, boss. Speaking of bosses, let me introduce you to mine. One of our founders and CTO, Steve West, is with us, and he's going to be showing us these wonderful features. We're in great hands. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, we're very excited to introduce top-down capacity planning. We've always had capacity planning for a long time in our tool. If you put your project plan in with the schedules, with your work breakdown structures, we would calculate across the whole system how busy you are in all your projects. But now you can do it the old-fashioned way with the WBS, or you can do it in the new way that we're going to show you today with the top-down. Maybe you don't know exactly what the work breakdown structure is, but you know who the people might be on the project and how busy they are. That information shows up on the capacity report, which I'm showing right now on my screen. So if you see this report right here, everybody on my screen there, this is the next 10 weeks in our demo site of projects that are going on for the various different resources. You can see over here we have Brett Favre, and he's averaging about 30 hours a week for the next 10 weeks. And down here, Eric is averaging 30, but then you can see he's got a lot of capacity here. So where does this information come from? If I expand this, I can see the actual projects that Brett is assigned to. These projects here are the normal bottom up. If I want to see what tasks Brett Favre has to do on these particular, in this Global X client implementation, I can see this is how many hours we're expecting for that week in here. I can expand that. This is the normal, traditional bottom up capacity planning. You just put your project plan in and it'll calculate that information, roll it up. This is the availability line here, 40 hours a week. But we also see down here, I have a project that I happen to name it Top-Down Project, but obviously it would be the name of whatever project you have. And you can see there's 20 hours, then 20, then 30, then 30, and so on and so forth. Well, where does this come from? There's this new concept called project allocation. We don't actually have any tasks in this project yet. I can simply click on here and I can actually edit right from the report how busy Brett Favre is going to be. He's default 30 hours for the life of this project. And you can see there, these are the default weeks, but you can override it at any time and say, well, in a late April, it's only going to be 5 hours, or it's only going to be 0 hours here.
That's great, Steve. So if Brett's on vacation in April, he can balance his load right there.
Yeah, well, this is really for a project manager to do. You would basically project out what Brett is going to do on this project. And once you've edited it, it'll refresh in this screen and give you that information there. Same thing down here with this other resource as well, anybody in the top-down project. So that's basically how you can edit those right from this report. But I want to show you, like, if I'm building a brand new report, how do I get started with this top-down stuff? So you can go to your projects list, and then you'll see I added a project already ahead of time, future top-down project. But you would just create a brand new project. And you can see I don't have any tasks yet. There's a new option in the resources area called resource allocation planning. And you just click on that there. And here I have my future project that I'm going to do. If I want to assign Patrick Insight some default hours, maybe it's 10 hours a week on this project. You just hit the 10 on the default. If you're going to add another person, let's go ahead and add Brett Favre to this one and give him 10 hours a week on this as well. And then maybe we're going to put Emily in there. And we know Emily's going to work even more on this project, 30 hours. And just keep adding your resources. Something that's going to be come up here is you can see I just selected a placeholder resource. You can actually also allocate the placeholders, which are, like a team. So we have that ability for you to not just pick individuals, but you could pick the teams. And what's really great about the teams is that will roll up into your department and your resource type report, which I'll show a little bit later on here in this demo. But this is how quick and easy it is for you to put your top-down information in. Go ahead and hit save. And that information's in there now. You can come back and edit it later as well. But at this point, I don't have to put a WBS in, and I can go all the way right back to my resource report, rerun it here, and I should see this is now impacted. Brett's overloaded because we have him on this future project as well. So for 10 hours and 30 hours. So we're basically that quickly and easily able to add in what we think we're going to do. And what's really great about this is when you're ready to actually do the project, you can clear out the top-down information, put the WBS in, and that will just replace it. So instead of keeping this information separate in a spreadsheet, it's all in one place. Like we have a lot of clients before they come on to come on with us. They have a spreadsheet that keeps track of everybody and how busy they are. And then they have their project plans in some other tool like Excel or Microsoft Project, and they have to maintain all this information in two places. What's really great is if you just load the project into our tool, not only are your team members going to see the tasks they're supposed to do and have it routed to them and emailed to them and all the benefits of the automation we have in Project Insight, it'll roll up into the reports automatically too, so the PM doesn't have to keep track of it. You just got to keep track of the data, enter it one time in one place, and you'll get the routing of the tasks and the reports and all of that in one fell swoop.
And Steve, I think you just answered TJ's question, who asked, can you merge bottom down with top down?
Yeah.
Which is the answer right there. So
yeah, so this is right here. You can see this is a bottom up project. There's 4 hours on this, April 9th for Brett. This is a regular task on a regular project. If I go to that project there, you can see here's the task list in the WBS. If you don't know what the WBS is that yet, like on these two projects, then you get to have this interface. But you can actually, real quickly, you can actually combine them. You see, this is the default. Actually, it's a subtlety here that when you do the top-down planning, this interface, by the way, is the same as what I showed you. This screen you see when you go into the resource planning on the project, you'll see everybody all at once. When you click on it from the report, you see the individual here. I can always just click here to see all resources again on the whole project, even though I was just looking at Brett. But there's allocation rules option here, the default being combined with tasks. So that means if I had 10 hours a week in the top-down planning and then I started adding tasks into the project for Brett Favre, then it's going to be the sum of the tasks that we put in the bottom up plus this, if I use this mode. If I say I just want to override the tasks, in this case, on that capacity report I showed you earlier, Brett's going to show as 10 hours and it won't matter what tasks you give him. So you can still see the tasks on that report, but it'll be zeroed out. So that lets you override. And this is important because some of our customers use the Jira integration or DevOps integration. And what's really awesome about that is that there's never, in those tools, generally you don't have capacity at all because we don't know how much work it's going to be in the future. Very rarely do even people put effort into those systems. you can actually link Project Insight to your Jira project or your DevOps project and say, okay, we're going to pull these tasks in, but we know how busy those people are on this project in PI, and we'll get the capacity report for the effort that they're doing in the other tool. So that's when you might use override. And then the third way is say use if no tasks. So this is if you're putting your planning in and you don't want to have to come back to this later, you can leave the 10 hours in there. And then as soon as they start assigning tasks to Brett Favre in the project, this gets ignored. So basically the three modes are the tasks and the capacity are together, or just the capacity is what's used, or just the tasks.
That's spectacular.
Yep.
Is anybody using a system right now to track this? If so, please leave a comment.
Yeah. And I think I see a question here about what if, and we were planning on showing a what if scenario. So let's talk about a what if scenario. I already saved a report. By the way, these are our saved reports. Any report you save just shows up here. Here's a what if scenario where just a minute ago we didn't have the what if project in there. I showed Brett Favre at normal capacity, but now use it over capacity. Well, why? That's because I put this what if project in here. This is a project that's actually in planning mode, and he has 35 hours a week on that, and that pushes him over.
He hasn't worked that much in years.
No, I know, exactly. But here's, how do you do that? Well, really all you need to do that is in our filters on this report. This report is real easily editable by this filter. You come in here and then you can pull in projects that are planning. So if I want to go in, and this is maybe Smith Design is also another project that's in planning mode, you can say, what if I do these two together and then run the report? And so then you can see that if Brett didn't have anything on that secondary project, but if he had, it might push him up even more. So you could do basically these what if scenarios. If I take the what if project out, now what happens? Okay, yeah, he's reduced again. So it's real easy to be able to say, I want to mix and match the what if. And what's really great is it's real quick and easy to build a top-down project. So you can put the top-down project in and do a what if. People used to ask about that with the bottom up, and the dilemma was always like, well, I don't want to have to wait. I don't want to have to put the whole WBS in just to rough it out. So you can now do the what if scenario. And just like always, these reports do roll up by resource type. So I can see how busy my capacity is for all my developers or all my designers or my consultants. So we can see how busy all of my people are by those roles. And you can also do it by department as well. So I was showing resource type, but you can also roll it up by your whole company or by department and all the various different ways. So all of the same things apply to this new feature.
And we've got a question, Steve. Can this feature be used to measure how busy your administrative or operational resources are?
Yeah, that's another really great question. When we onboard clients, a lot of times they'll use resources that are maybe busy doing a help desk. Especially if you're an IT, if you're like IT, you might have resources that they spend like half their time on the IT help desk, but they still got to help out with the other kinds of initiatives. You can use the top-down project to show that, to say for this quarter, we think that so-and-so has this much capacity for this many, for this much time. So that's a way that you can basically plot out that you would put in a project, say, managing help desk. You put your 10 people that manage a help desk on there and say, well, this person's 10 hours a week, this person's 20 hours a week, this person's 30 hours a week. And that's how you can block that time off. And then you use the bottom up for your regular project planning that you're doing on top of that.
Spectacular. A few more questions. Can we change the capacity hours? So for example, if somebody wants to run 45-hour work weeks as opposed to 40?
So yes, a person can, in the profile for somebody, if they're going to work more hours than the standard, you can come in here and say their capacity is going to be 125%. Let's say if they're going to work more, you can do that. So normally the default, if you see, is just defaults to 100%. That's 100% of the 40-hour work week. If you lower someone to 50, like say, then they're only going to show 20 hours of capacity. And like an executive, for example, might even have a 0 in there because you don't want you could still assign them things, but when you're trying to roll up your department's hours effectively, you can set it to anything you want. So it can be above or below the capacity.
Yep, wonderful. Another question. So can you set a range of dates for each individual resources, such as design team would work 8 hours a week in Q1 and dev team would work 10 hours a week in Q2?
Yeah, so that's a good question. On an individual, you could if they were different projects, especially for the operational stuff. But if you're gonna have staggered planning in the report, then what you'll do is you might put in a person and say, okay, well, Craig's not going to start, until June. You would maybe not put a default in, and then just say, okay, it's going to be 30, 30, and 30 for the last 4 weeks. These could be, by the way, I'm using weeks because weeks are really great. I always recommend week, but people do it by month as well. So if you want to do your top down and your capacity planning by month with our tool, you can certainly do that. But what you would do is you would just fill in when they actually are starting. But the coverage of the project is set up here. If I want to increase the weeks, I can change the date this way to say this is going between these two dates. Or, let's say we're going to start a week later. It automatically is shifted for me. I can also say this is going to be 16 weeks instead of 11 or 10 weeks. So I can manipulate how long this project is up here. And then 30, 30, 30. The other way to do it would be if I'm going to bring in, let's say, Jeff and say, okay, by default, he's going to be 30 hours, but he's not starting for a few weeks. I can zero him out like that. So you can definitely tailor. It's not set in stone that you use the default. Most people just throw the default up there. So that's the easiest way to get it done.
Much like everything within our system, right? It can be customized to fit your team's needs. And really that's what we want to do is give you the power to run.
Yeah. So. But to answer Bree's other question, if you do want to also plan for Q1 between date ranges, that might be more bottom up, so you'll put the task in the normal way and say, I'm going to allocate somebody. So a task 1, and then I'm just going to go ahead and say, this is going to be from this date to that date for a person. Now I'm doing bottom up, which is, I want them to work 40 hours in that period of time. So now I've actually planned for that month. So 40 hours for the month, it automatically calculated for Brett Farr. So you can definitely use dates and date ranges for tasks starting and ending at certain points. That is typically more of a bottom-up function than the top-down. So you can do it both ways, where you're doing it where you zero out the weeks they're on at the top level, or you can actually put real tasks in with what the real dates are for that quarter. And the report will pull it together all at once. If I go back to my resource report now, Brett should have even more time because I put that task in on that top down project. So
thank you, Bree.
So here's a task. There's the task. This is the combination of the task that I assigned for 10 hours in April, 40 hours total. And here's my top down allocation. It's combined them together. So
wonderful.
Yep. I think that's all we're about to show. I mean,
that's it. Yeah, we're 4 minutes over on 15, so we're running a little late there, but we really appreciate everybody's time. If you want to get your information into Project Insight, whether you are using us now and you just need a little bit of help, contact me, please. If you are not and you want to explore how we can get your team up and running, we want to do that as well. Please reach out and let us know how we can assist. But we appreciate everybody's time today.
Yep. Awesome. We appreciate you guys being our customers. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.